What this extraordinary reporting reveals is something actually, it builds on what we already knew, that we had a crazy, delusional, authoritarian, dangerous, criminal president of the United States. And we knew it through all 4 years of his presidency. And what's happening in this book and a couple of others, and probably more to come, is we are now seeing that picture filled out and our worst fears fulfilled through actual specific acts and words of the horror and terror that this deranged president of the United States visited upon our country, the Constitution, and our system of governance. But what's so important here is that there is nothing in these revelations, as awful and terrible as they are, that Mitch McConnell and other Republican leaders did not know about Donald Trump, his character, his authoritarianism, his recklessness, his homicidal negligence through the pandemic. All of this was known to our leaders. And the party of Trump and the party of McConnell and what we saw in the insurrection, these are all things that were embraced up until the last minute by McConnell and the Republican leadership, and they continue to be embraced, Trumpism, in all its derangement, terror, and horror. This idea of the delusional deep state that is part of the Trumpist agenda needs to be dismissed immediately, and we need to go back to the specifics and the expansion of the reporting on the authoritarian, dangerous, and as Milley himself has now raised the question of neo-fascism, Trumpism as neo-fascism. He has raised the question in the language of brown shirts. We didn't do it here on the air. The general, the Joint Chiefs, the head of the Joint Chiefs has done this. We need to take this moment and say, how did we get to a place where the leader of the American military compared the President of the United States to Hitlerian fascism? We didn't say it. He did. This is a moment. That's the importance of this book and perhaps the importance of some of the other books. We are finally getting behind the scenes as to what our leaders were saying and knew about Trump. But the other thing is, on our air, cable news, this network, MSNBC, Trump's derangement was reported, repertorially nailed down. A good number of people, myself included, but I don't want to take the credit for this. There are a number of people that early on said, this is a deranged, dangerous, authoritarian president of the United States, starting in 2017. And yet, his party, the people around him in the White House, they did not go public, including some of the people who are quoted in these books. Why the hell did they sit still instead of warning the American people out loud, instead of just talking to us? We have a lot of questions to answer, as we know in an expanded way, finally, what has occurred in this terrible, terrible, awful period of our history.